What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday night. The middle of the week is almost over. It will definitely be over after this show. So stick around. It's the middle of the week. It's hump day. It's going to be the weekend in a couple of days. It's fantastic. By the way, my name's Tim. This is the Boston Sports Summit, part of the Grid Network. So thank you so much for tuning in. You get all the social medias right there. If you wouldn't mind, just a quick little like. Doesn't hurt anybody. And if you like, subscribe, the whole thing, if you could, thank you. I appreciate it. Meanwhile, we got a lot going on. We got the Patriots coming off a much-needed victory in Miami against the Dolphins, something that they haven't done in over half a decade. Also, the Red Sox, are they about to have another collapse on their resume? It's certainly looking like it, but we're going to go back down to Miami with the Patriots getting the much-needed victory, 33-27. It was a tough game. I predicted it was going to be a runaway for the Pats, with my prediction being 31-14, but 33-27, not bad. It was one of those games where they came off just on a mission. Offensively, that was probably the best that this team has looked all season, including the preseason. Now, again, it is week 2. There's a lot going on. Miami kind of sucks. So, you want to be able to give the Patriots credit, but you also don't want to oversell it because it's not like they're going against a top 5 defense in Miami. So, with that being said, there were a few plays that drove me up a wall. And, of course, the most egregious one had to be Andy Borregales missing both extra points. That was just absurd. And, by the way, I'm going to get to my game day grades in just a few minutes, and he's definitely on that list. I wonder where you can where you would put him on the game day grades, because it wasn't good. But him missing those extra points really gave Miami life. The fact that it was a 12-7 game, and he does kick the 50-yarder to go into half 15-7, it felt like the game was still in reach. And it was. It was still a one-possession game with a 2-point conversion. The fact that that field goal wasn't 17 made, I think, a drastic difference, because that 10-point margin is wildly different than 15-7, an 8-point margin. And Miami just came out and they started to connect offensively. They were getting some big plays. Another play that drove me nuts, which talk about in the game day grades, was that Tyreek Hill 48-yard reception. Wondering what the hell was going on defensively with that play. And then lastly, the final play that pissed me off was that Devon Achane, before they ruled it back, because he clearly did step out of bounds. Before they ruled it back, I was honestly ready to punch my wall, figuratively speaking. But it was one of those plays where you're just like, are you kidding me? We're going to have to go through another piece of crap moment like this down in Miami? It's something about the water down there that drives, the Pats can't seem to get the victory ever. And so it was infuriating watching that, especially the fact that, as you know, I'm a massive Gator fan, clearly, worked for the Florida Gators. You graduated from there as well. But having to deal with their nonsense on Saturday night, to then watch Devon Achane basically give Miami the lead with 30 to 40 seconds left. I'm like, can I catch a break football-wise, please? And luckily enough, we did. He stepped out of bounds. Milton Williams came up with a massive sack on 4th down to seal the victory. It was definitely a game that I don't believe it really should have been as close as it was, seeing how well we were performing, at least offensively. But we scored over 30 points. That's huge. That's something this team hasn't done in quite some time. So congrats to the Pats. Congrats to Vrabel getting his first victory. Now I'm going to get into the game day grade. So starting off, of course, the letter A, the high praise I'm giving to Drake May, Ramondre Stevenson, and Milton Williams. Now, looking at that, with Drake May's performance going 19 of 23 for 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, 137.3 passer rating. He also had 10 carries for 31 yards, including that touchdown, scramble, running away from Matthew Judon there. Now with the orange sleeves, which looks honestly gross. The red sleeves were so much better. He's got to go back. I know Miami's orange and, teal, whatever, but the orange just doesn't look good. So Drake May had honestly his best performance as a professional football player from start to finish. There was no two ways about that. He looked comfortable. He looked like he understood everything that was going on. It looks like Josh McDaniels didn't throw too much at him this week. So I think we can all stop on the, it's Drake May's too stupid to figure out this Josh McDaniels offense nonsense that was going on all last week, which was kind of annoying to some degree. Then, of course, the second guy on that list, Ramondre Stevenson. That was the Ramondre Stevenson of 2022. That was the bell cow right there. The back that we need for him to just dominate that Miami defense the way he did, going 11 carries for 54 yards, nearly 5 yards a carry. And, of course, how can we not forget that Drake May shuffle up into the pocket on third down, floats the ball to Stevenson, a guy that not many of us expected this type of catch from, but he sticks his hands out right in the basket, right in the fingertips. He corrals it and then goes for that massive gain to help New England go down and score, which without that, this could have been a very different game. If he dropped that, if he was stone hands, it would not have ended well, I think, for the Patriots. And so he definitely also gets an A grade. Otherwise, I'm going to start calling these A's game balls. So, especially now that we want to make such a big deal of the game ball, I'll talk about that in just a second. But finally, Milton Williams gets 2 game balls, 1 real game ball, and then my game ball. he coming up with 2 sacks, 1 obviously to end the game with 5 total tackles. I mean, Milton Williams, that's what we pay him to do. That is exactly what we pay him to do, to come up in the big-time moments, to come up with these sacks. Tua just looked dumbfounded at what was going on. Williams clearly won, gets into the backfield, knocks him on his ass. Phenomenal. So, A's to Drake May, Ramondre Stevenson, and Milton Williams. Great, great games by them. Then going on to B, I would say very good games. Good to very good games. We got Will Campbell, Antonio Gibson, Austin Hooper, and Stephon Diggs. As for Will Campbell, he was phenomenal. Going up against Bradley Chubb. Bradley Chubb's good. He's not part of the elite, but he's very good. And that's something that he held his own. Yes, he did have 1 penalty, but other than that, it was silence from the left side of the line. And that's what I love to see. That's what I want to see. I don't want to hear Will Campbell's name at all. I don't want to see anyone coming from the left side of the line at all. And so the fact that didn't hear it, I thought was great. Something that was much needed. I think he can only, of course he can only go up. Of course he can go down. But I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens when he goes up against the best of the best. Not for nothing, I'm surprised that Max Crosby didn't try to come from the left side last week. Because that would have been a really interesting matchup. to have Max Crosby go against a guy who, in his first NFL game, everyone loves to talk about his short arms. So good on Will Campbell. Good, very good game by him. Antonio Gibson gets my second B grade. He averaged 5.4 yards per carry on 6 carries. And of course, had that huge kickoff return for a touchdown, which honestly swung the momentum of that game. Because Miami just had that punt return for a touchdown. With that punt return, it again, similar to the Devon Achane, it felt like Miami was going to get these stupid plays out of nowhere that was going to swing the momentum in their favor. But luckily for us, the very next play, Antonio Gibson takes the kickoff to the house. Love to see it. Great job by him. Next, Austin Hooper. Austin Hooper is looking like a reliable target. Our tight ends are they're not going to wow you, but they are very reliable. And I think that is something that, to have a reliable tight end with Drake May as a quarterback, huge. Austin Hooper, 3 for 38 yards with that 22-yard reception, if you can remember, in the first quarter, that set up the Patriots touchdown to Matt Collins. That 22-yard reception was huge by Austin Hooper. So, Austin Hooper, good day. And then, of course, Stephon Diggs. Now, statistically, it's not going to light you up going 4 for 32 on 5 targets. But that clutch 4th down reception when they were, in, early around midfield, and it was 4th and 3, and they went for it, and Diggs just had a quick slant route, and bam, right in the numbers. Drake May hit him. It was perfect, and they got the first down, proceeded to move on, and score on that drive. So I thought Diggs, statistically, it doesn't light you up, but I thought he had a very good game. So Will Campbell, Gibson, Hooper, and Diggs all get Bs. Now, as for average games, I would go with Morgan Moses and Carlton Davis III. Now, Morgan Moses, he was pretty good, blocking-wise, but those 3 penalties were awful. The 3 penalties that he had were just unbelievably terrible, which set him up for, which actually puts the Patriots back on the 54-yard field goal that Andy Borregales actually did hit. So good game by him, but he needs to clean it up. He needs to clean it up on that side. And Carlton Davis, he had 3, he was targeted 4 times, gave up 3 catches, and he had 1 missed tackle. I understand he's not a physical corner. He's not seeking tackles like that. But, again, you still want to tackle the guy. If you're credited for a missed tackle, I'm sorry, you should have him. So those are C's. Now, as for D, Garrett Bradbury and Christian Ellis. Now, Garrett Bradbury, he was not bad. He's much better at pass blocking this Sunday than he was at run blocking. But that fumble late in the 4th quarter that Drake May did fall on was atrocious. It can't happen, especially in the 4th quarter when we needed that drive to go down and solidify that game, to get points, to drain the clock. But we couldn't do it. And so we had to punt from our own end zone. Not the type of game that you want to see. Garrett Bradbury, there's a reason why the Vikings released him. Let's not forget that. Just because he's a veteran, that he's out there, he needs to get better at that. And then, of course, Christian Ellis. Terrible game for our linebackers, Christian Ellis and Robert Spillane. We'll talk about him in a minute. But Christian Ellis, 3 missed tackles and allowed 3 catches for 34 yards. I don't know, kind of the defensive scheme that they're trying to run, but if they're trying to put these guys into coverage, especially going against slot receivers. I mean, they're going to get beat every single time. Clearly. That's what happened all game. And so Christian Ellis, he needs to get better. Our linebacking core absolutely needs to get better. So they get D's from me. And then the big F. Of course, Andy Borregales, Robert Spillane, and Alex Austin. Starting with Andy Borregales, you cannot miss these extra points. Especially, it's one thing to miss the extra points in an NFL game. It's a wildly different thing to be a rookie, to get drafted, and to play your second NFL game in your college stadium. The stadium that you've known for 4 years, if not more, to some of these guys. They're playing for 7 now. But you know that stadium inside and out. You know where all the special spots are. I mean, like the Celtics knew where to dribble around Lucky the Leprechaun midcourt, right? They knew it at the old Boston Garden. But Andy Borregales missing 2 extra points that were crucial in keeping the hope on Miami's sideline. You can't have that, kid. That's what I feel like. That's honestly what made this a track meet. If this was a 14-0 game after those 2 drives, I don't know. Maybe Miami does turtle. Yeah, so it was terrible. And then, of course, he hits the big kick to put us up 6, excuse me. And then he goes for the kickoff only to not reach the landing zone. I mean, goodness gracious, dude. What are you doing? Now you just set up arguably the fastest skill position group in all of the NFL at the 40-yard line. Terrible. Just terrible. Robert Spillane burned on a 29-yard touchdown. Can't have that. Again, not a great day from our linebackers. And then lastly, Alex Austin targeted 7 times, allowed 6 receptions for 98 yards, including that awful Tyreek Hill 48-yard touchdown. Now, trying to watch that replay on the All-22, I couldn't decide. Were they trying to run like a cover 3? Or did Alex Austin think Jalen Hawkins was dropping back because you had Craig Woodson absolutely shading the opposite side of the field? He was definitely the furthest guy back, but he was more on the away side from Tyreek Hill. I don't know. Was the rookie supposed to stay on Tyreek Hill's side, or was he supposed to be where he's at? Otherwise, Alex Austin was tracking back and just got burned. Shocker. You have to keep Tyreek Hill in front of you. And if you're looking for safety help, you guys have to know what's going on. So Alex Austin did not have a great day. Zach Kerr, you need to teach that better, or at least go through it. I understand Terrell Williams is dealing with a health issue. And again, I hope that he's safe, he's healthy, and that he can get back to coaching as fast as possible while being healthy, of course. But yeah, there was just a lot of things there that, again, need to get cleaned up, need to improve upon defensively. Last week we were all talking offensively. Now we need to get better defensively. So next, we're going to be previewing the Patriots and Steelers with a fellow Grid contributor, Bryson Carver. Bryson, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing great, Tim. It is great to be on your show, and of course, for the occasion, I've got my Red Sox hat standing by. Probably should have put it on my head before the show, but nonetheless, but it is good to be on it. Is this my first, outside of the finals last year when your Celtics came away with the title? Is this my first time on Boston Sports Summit?
I
think it might be
that. I mean, you've been on. You had to have been on at least once, right?
Maybe
Red Sox.
It's been a minute. It's good to be on though. It's good to be on with you, my friend.
Yeah, appreciate you. So, again, we got a big matchup coming up on Sunday. Pittsburgh 101, traveling to New England. It's going to be a tough one. You got the aging Aaron Rodgers. And please, Bryson, inform the Boston Sports Summit audience here. What's your take on Aaron Rodgers?
So listen, I have been, to put it mildly, a critic of Aaron for the last few years, in large part because I think the narratives around his play have been so wildly overblown. It's like, okay, this is a guy who, going back to 2022, has a passer rating of 90. Like, again, it's fine, solid, but one of those years comes with Matt LaFleur and that great Packers offense with Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson, Aaron Jones. And that team had a losing record. The season after that, Jordan Love gets into the playoffs, wins a playoff game against the Cowboys. Again, the blown Achilles against the Jets. Who knows what that season would have been? That's just a question mark. And then last year, I'm like, I don't know. Jets have a bad O-line, bad coaching staff, old quarterback 40. My guess is it's probably not going to work. And as you saw, I mean, your Patriots were one of the teams that beat them last year. It just totally blew up. And so my thing was, okay, Tomlin's a better coach than Saleh, although as of late I'm having some questions about Tomlin. Not in love with what I'm seeing for the defense, to put it mildly. But offensive line is atrocious, and we lost our left tackle in the offseason, Dan Moore. The receiving core, aside from Metcalf, leaves a lot to be desired. Can't run the football. Again, Aaron was bad on Sunday against the Seattle Seahawks. He had a pass rating like 58, 2 picks. Really, the second one was the only one that was on him. But all at the fact that he didn't move very well. Again, Father Time's going to get all this, Tim. Like, that's the reality of it. He's 41. He doesn't move as well as he used to. And the O-line's bad. I never thought it was going to work. And I feel like the Jets game was the outlier, not the rule.
Yeah. And I mean, again, it's still early in the season. He's still, meeting with the second team. And again, our resident Steeler guy right here, Bryson, who he's Steelers, Red Sox. He's all crazy in the head.
I'm all over the place. I'm crazy, Tim. You're correct about that. Yes.
It's all good, man. So talking, just from a QB comparison standpoint, just through the 2 games this year so far, they've got about almost 100-yard difference in pass yards. Drake May's thrown a little bit more. Drake May's had a much better completion percentage after this Sunday, especially going 71% to Rodgers 63.5. Rodgers does have the more touchdowns, 5-2. Drake May's got 3 touchdowns to 1 interception. May's got a slightly better passer rating, 100.9 to 97.8, and then May has a 57.7 QBR to Aaron Rodgers 45.8. So Bryson, when comparing these 2 quarterbacks, who would you want in this game on Sunday? Just quarterback position.
As a Steelers fan, I would rather have Drake May, and here's why I tell you this, Tim, is because who is it that matter of fact, I'm going to let you answer this question. Who leads the NFL this season in sacks in terms of team sacks? Who leads the league in sacks?
Like offensively?
In terms of defensive sacks, who leads the NFL?
What, Steelers?
It's the Patriots. The Patriots have 9 sacks this season, which leads the National Football League. That is bad news for that Steelers offensive line, which has struggled to hold up against the Jets which the Seahawks do have a good front, to be fair, but against the Jets and Seahawks front. So I think Aaron's going to be under pressure a lot. Whereas in Pittsburgh, certainly you have TJ Watt, who is one of the premier pass rushers in the game and has been for the better part of the last decade. But with that being said, the Steelers in their last 10 games, this is going to shock your audience. Under Mike Tomlin, 10 straight games of giving up 300 yards or more. That leads the NFL. They have given up 27 points per game in that stretch. They've given up, again, I forgot what the exact number of yards per game was, but it was somewhere like 350 or something like that. Yeah. The fact of the matter is, this is the highest compensated defense in the NFL, and despite the injuries, you still have TJ Watt and Jalen Ramsey and Nick Herbig and Patrick Queen, and they're simply not getting the job done. I mean, Justin Fields looked like Lamar Jackson against us, Tim. Like, I don't know what's going on. He was phenomenal, and then against the Bills was turned into a shell of himself, turned back to the old bad Justin Fields. And so I think Drake May's going to have time to throw more so than he has in the first 2 games of the season. I thought he looked good against Miami. I thought he was accurate. I thought he moved pretty well. I would certainly, from a comfort perspective, I'd like to be a lot of quarterbacks other than Aaron this season because of that O-line. But certainly in this instance, I would rather be Drake May.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree with you. When I look at the teams and I try to compare, the positions, I try to rate on a few different factors. And one of those is, of course, going off of the stats. So when you're looking at it, I, too, would rather Drake May. I mean, not for nothing, outside of the O-line, and according to PFF, the offensive line for Pittsburgh is slightly better than New England. And again, it's not, I'm not saying it's vastly different. It's,
sure.
But the thing about it is, again, Garrett Bradbury honestly had one of the worst games against the Raiders last week. And he was just getting beat left and right up the middle. And that's why we couldn't run the ball as well as we should have. And that's,
Sure.
that's Mike Vrabel's bread and butter is running the football. And so if you can't run, I mean, Antonio Gibson had average, excuse me. Of course, I have it right here. He averaged 5.4 yards per carry. Ramondre Stevenson, nearly 5 yards a carry.
I thought Stevenson was great against Miami. Yeah. I liked what I saw from him.
And so, with that being said, of course, it's going to open up the passing game for Drake May. And Drake May doesn't have to worry as much with Miami trying to focus on the run game. So, that's why, not for nothing, I'm looking at your offense compared to our offense. And the only thing I would take is, and again, barely, is your offensive line. I would give the edge to us in tight end, receiver, running back, and quarterback. What are your thoughts?
I would give us the advantage of tight end just because I think we have two good ones in Pat Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith. But again, obviously Hunter Henry, we know what he's been able to do. He's been one of the more consistently productive guys for that New England offense over the course of the last few years when that offense outside of him and at times Ramondre Stevenson has been pretty atrocious. So I think the improvements there, you get more out of Hunter Henry. But I think just a two-headed monster. The question is, can the Steelers get the ball to those guys consistently enough for them to be productive? I mean, Jonnu Smith, what do you have, like 800 receiving yards last year? He had a good 2024 season. So I was fine. I was fine with the Jalen Ramsey trade, more so for Jonnu Smith than I was for Jalen Ramsey, who, to his credit, has been solid over the first couple games this season. But yeah, running back room, I will give you guys the advantage, although I do like Jalen Warren. I just think, again, he's the product of what kind of offensive line is he working with? Like, he's not necessarily a between the tackles guy. In space, he's as dangerous as any back in the league this side of like a Christian McCaffrey or somebody. So like, I love what I'm seeing from him when he gets the ball in space, with blockers ahead. Receiver, look, I'll give you all the advantage. Like I said, DK Metcalf, man.
I love DK too, but it's not by much. DK's great, but again, we have an aging Steph Diggs. Kayshon Boutte has been nice, but not, they still got to figure that relationship out with him and Drake May. Sorry. Yeah.
No, but to your point, I was going to bring up Boutte, who obviously made the big play last week against Miami. The fact of the matter is, if Calvin Austin, who Aaron Rodgers, in classic Aaron Rodgers fashion, just made sure to let us know that pick, that was Calvin, that was not me, okay? Just, he's a good kid. This is what he's kept saying, Tim. He's a good kid. He's a good kid, but this made the mistake. Tom Brady doesn't do that. I think you and your audience know that very well. But seriously, though, if Calvin Austin is your number two, if you got Ben Skoranek and Roman Wilson, like, you're really kind of playing with an empty cupboard, so to speak, and DK, it's kind of DK Metcalf or bust. And he can make plays. He's great in the red zone. But other than that, can he get him the ball down the field with that offensive line? So I would give you guys the advantage at receiver, unfortunately, because, man, I did not think if you asked me a year ago who would have the better offense between the Patriots and Steelers, that I would be saying it's the New England Patriots pretty much across the board. And even the O-line, as you said, if a gun to your head, it's probably a wash. Like it's close enough to where it's, I'm not mad either way.
Yeah. Well, we're talking with Bryson Carver, host of the Carver Up podcast, and joins me in the Saturday morning tailgate every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern. And
let's go.
Bryson, how can our audience find you before we continue on?
Sure, they can find me on YouTube, Carving It Up with Bryson Carver, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Obviously, it's very much a football-centric show right now because we're in the early stages of the season. But hey, with our Red Sox, trying to hopefully seal the deal. I'm not liking what I'm seeing lately, Tim, but hopefully get in the playoffs as a wild card team. Going to be some baseball stuff. Really, just whatever's hot in the world of sports. I hammer it on that. So yeah, definitely Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. I've also got clips on social media on Instagram, YouTube, X, TikTok, the whole bit. So you guys can find me there.
Perfect. Well, the other thing I do want to talk about too is, of course, defense. I know you brought it up that Aaron Rodgers needs to have the time in order to sit in the pocket to find the open receiver, to make sure that he's getting the reads right. And that's something where, yeah, I agree with you that I think New England has the better defensive line. But then when you look at the linebackers, defensive backs, even the special teams, especially with what happened with our special teams on Sunday, our rookie kicker missing 2 extra points in his college stadium. Awful.
Not great.
What is your opinion on defense versus, Patriots defense versus the Steelers defense? Clearly, I'm going with New England's D-line, but I think you guys have a better back seven.
I think we have a better back seven too. You talk about Patrick Queen, you talk about Cole Holcomb, who's kind of had some injury troubles, but he's back in the lineup. You know, I'd like to see him get a full season without the threat of injury. But Jalen Ramsey, hopefully Joey Porter Jr. can be back sooner rather than later. I like his upside as kind of like just a big physical corner. Obviously, his dad had a solid career in Pittsburgh.
We all know about his father.
Oh yeah. Listen, Joey Porter Sr. was the man. He was a great player on those Dick LeBeau defenses, to say the very least. But I think when you look at the Steelers back seven, they miss Minkah Fitzpatrick, like they do. Yeah. Moving him to Miami, I thought was a mistake. It's not that Jalen Ramsey can't play. I thought Minkah Fitzpatrick was more valuable at secondary, and I'm a Joey Porter Jr. believer. I think he can evolve into being a true number one corner in this league. But yeah, I think, like I said, defensively, you're talking about a Steelers team that's given up 300 yards 10 games in a row, which is unthinkable in the Mike Tomlin era. Makes you want to consider maybe Mike Tomlin's lost his fastball, which I've kind of been on that train for a while. I think I'm in the minority on that. But yeah, I'm not liking what I'm seeing from that side of the ball at all. Again, against Justin Fields, he had 3 touchdowns, looked phenomenal. And Sam Darnold, Sam Darnold has 2 turnovers, and still the Seahawks rip you to shreds in the second half, in part aided by a special teams error by a rookie running back. So, yeah, defensively, I would give New England the edge just in terms of consistency. But I do think slightly, especially if Christian Gonzalez is out this week for you guys, I think we have a better back seven.
And that's the thing. And if Christian Gonzalez was in, I would have given us the edge at defensive back, to be honest with you. But I'm banking that he's out again because, he was out there today. But from all reports that are going on, from what the media got to witness, it was he did barely anything. So with that, I feel like the kid, it's one of those weird situations where I'm like, okay, Christian Gonzalez dealing with a hamstring since the first day of pads at the end of July. And he's still out. And don't get me wrong, I want him to be fully healthy when he comes back because hamstring injuries, if you come back too early, soft tissue, man, they can ruin your whole season. So I'm okay, but at the same time, it would be nice to have him. He's had almost 2 months now of rehab for that. So I think it's going to be interesting. And yeah, the whole situation with your rookie running back letting the ball, go into the end zone like that, that's just a mental mistake. I mean, I would. Can
I say something else too? Not to cut you off, but here's what bothered me the most about that is not just because you could say, rookie running back, second game of his career, he made a mistake. He didn't know the rules of, again, ball rolls in the end zone short of the landing zone, then it's a live ball. It was the fact that when they showed the angle behind the end zone, the entire Steelers special teams are jogging off the field. Everybody, so that I put on coaching. It's one thing if you had some guys yelling, go get the ball. Everybody was completely unaware. Meanwhile, you had the Seattle Seahawks just all coming in, 5 guys ready to jump on the ball. Again, that's why I keep going back to this Tomlin thing. Again, the non-losing season thing. Congrats, you're never bad, I guess. How many playoff wins you have since 2016? That would be a big fat goose egg. So that's a legitimate knock. And that was, again, the kid made a mistake, but I don't think it's a situation where everybody on special teams should be let off the hook because I think that's the exact opposite. But yeah, go ahead. I just want
you're right. I mean, I would look at that as, in terms of comparing that situation to our special teams with our rookie kicker missing 2 extra points like that. I mean, and also missing a 40-yarder last week, which, by the way, did you know that NFL kickers right now are making 50 to 59-yard field goals at an 80% clip?
Wow. Well, I mean, listen, Chris Boswell made the game winner last week against the Steelers. Brandon Aubrey. He's the greatest long-distance kicker I've ever seen. I'm not kidding. He's
it helps when you're indoors.
It does help when you're indoors, to be fair, if you're in Denver or something like that. Matt Prater had the record for a while. But, I mean, that's – there's more – there's more scrutiny on kickers now than ever because it's okay, if 60 yards is you feel like that's field goal range for 85% of the league, you got to make a chip shot is different now than what it used to be. So yeah, I'm agree with you. You got to make those 40-yarders.
Yeah. And so it's one of those things where you could coach up everything that just happened. You can, open up. Here's the rule book, guys. Oh, let's go. Refresh your memory. Come on. Let's get over it. But with the kicking, I don't know what it is. I mean, it's kickers, it's goalies, it's these guys in the weird positions in sports that are a little mental, and it is mind-boggling sometimes how these guys can be so mental and miss these basic stuff, and then go on this massive slump when you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. Otherwise, yes, I would give you guys the edge. And so, before I give you my prediction, Bryson, what's your prediction for this game on Sunday?
Patriots.
Really?
I hope I'm wrong, but first of all, the fact that the Steelers are a road dog, historically, Tomlin, I know I feel like I'm bashing Tomlin, but I'm just keep it real here on the Boston Sports Summit, because I know that's what you do every Wednesday night. But Tomlin as a road favorite is one of the worst. Like, Tomlin as a home dog, that is free money. It's the opposite if he's a road favorite. So, and it's only a 1.5, but still, I don't love that. Like I said earlier, I think the thing to watch is, can Arthur Smith dial up a game plan similar to how he did with the Jets, where it's Aaron, take the snap, get the ball out of your hands quickly, to a Warren, a DK Metcalf, a Skronig, these guys, Jonnu Smith, in the sense of the offensive line isn't going to have enough time to protect, especially against a Patriots D-line that, as I said earlier, 9 sacks, which leads the National Football League. That is a matchup nightmare for the Steelers. Now, you could say TJ Watt against that Patriots O-line is probably not the best matchup either, because we talk about TJ Watt as having one of the best motors in the NFL, and he has since he came into the league out of Wisconsin in 2017. I just think matchup-wise up front, I like the Patriots' advantage in that regard. I think it's a low-scoring affair. I'm thinking something like 20-16, something like that. Like I don't think we're getting a whole lot of firepower in this game. So I hate to. Yeah, I must not sound like much of a Steelers fan to your audience today. Like, I'm just coming in and ripping my team. But yeah, I got to call how I see it. I think the Patriots team. I think your Patriots win, man.
I was gonna say, you clearly don't listen to this show when our team sucks.
I see Boston Sports Summit, man. I listen. I watch every Wednesday, man.
I do not hold back. If we suck, man, I do not hold back. It's funny because I actually think it is going to be a much higher scoring game.
Okay.
I think that actually, and I've done this 2 weeks in a row, or not 2 weeks in a row, but 2 out of the 3 weeks, I am going with the away team. I am taking the Steelers in this game. I know it's...
What is happening?
Yeah.
We're taking the... What? Whoa, 35-28?
I think it's going to be a much high scoring affair. You said it yourself. You guys... are giving up a lot of yards. The fact that this Miami offense took us to 27 points. I mean, to me it's a joke, kind of, because we should have been on their ass. They couldn't get out of their own way in Indianapolis, and they have such a better defense than us. I mean, yeah, but not by much. I don't believe so. So, I don't know. I was a little disheartened with what happened defensively, but I do think that it's going to go back and forth. I mean, Aaron Rodgers does have a winning record against New England in his career. So, It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think at the end of the day, it's going to be interesting to see what happens on Sunday. Because, again, any given Sunday, right? The craziest things can happen. Justin Fields can be a competent quarterback on Sunday, right?
It's unbelievable. I mean, hey, Aaron Rodgers can throw 4 touchdowns, no picks, and look like he did in Green Bay. Like, again, like you said, any given Sunday, it's a funny league, man. I mean, Daniel Jones looks like an MVP candidate right now. That's why we love the NFL.
Yeah, though Danny Dimes keeps
Indiana Jones, Tim.
He keeps siphoning touchdowns from Jonathan Taylor.
Let me ask, you got him on fantasy?
Yeah. Friggin' bastard. But
love it.
Yeah, so rotating from, of course, the Patriots to the Red Sox. Again, we're both Red Sox fans here. So this team is driving me nuts. And before we first, I do want to hit up a comment from frequent commenter Sports Mom. Patriots will win, and Bryson, we are sorry about the Volunteers. Tim, you were wrong about the Steelers pick for this weekend. I hate to say it. I picked the Raiders in week 1. So
that Vols pick, that Vol game hurt. I'm sure we'll talk about that on Saturday morning tailgate. That was painful, but I appreciate the sympathy, Sports Mom. Thank you.
Of course. And I do want to say this: anchor down.
Oh, stop. Please. You're a Florida fan. Well, what are we talking about? What are we doing?
I don't care about Vanderbilt.
Please.
We'll talk about that on Saturday. Saturday, 10 a.m. Don't forget, tune in. I do want to lead off with my take from 2 weeks ago about the Red Sox and kind of where they have gone from 2 weeks to now. Take a listen. I want them to go for it all. And then, hey, whatever happens, come October 1st is what happens. Giving it your all, putting everything on the line, and playing under the lights of October, wearing one of these beautiful hoodies at Fenway Park. There's something to be said about that. You know, it's a whole different atmosphere. You know that just as much as I do. So to all you out there, all you Red Sox fans who want to say, oh, well, we lost Roman, now it's not even worth it. You know what? Pull your head out of your ass and start rooting for this team because they deserve your support. They deserve you rooting for them to win the division and get to October baseball. That's what this team has earned. The front office and the ownership, they don't deserve that praise. But this team, the players, the manager, they deserve that from you. They deserve for you to go to Fenway Park, sell that park out, wearing your either Boston Sports Summit merch or your Red Sox merch. One of the two is perfectly acceptable. And cheering this team on, making sure that there are zero opposing fans in Fenway Park.
Let me at him, Tim.
I mean,
let's go.
That was 2 weeks ago. Now I am in the situation where after that game last night, I'm ready to just be like, all right, we're done. We're not even going to get to October baseball.
Oh, wow.
Because that last night was just some more atrocious baseball. And it's been like that. They've lost 4 out of their last 7 games. When looking at September so far, they have not been good. I mean, they are 6-7 right now. 6-7 with a series that you were home against the Yankees. You should have won. You should have swept the A's in Sacramento. And then you start off this game last night with Connolly early, who is looking like the best young pitcher in the Red Sox system. And probably are fighting for third best pitcher in this rotation because he has been lights out. Granted, it's been against Sacramento. It's been against the A's both times, the homeless A's. But the fact that he got pulled after letting up an infield single last night, only for Weissert, again, to give up 2 runs, one of which goes back to early. I'm frustrated. I am so frustrated with this effing team. Bryson, what are your thoughts?
I'm frustrated with the offense more than anything, Tim. It is pretty much fallen asleep over the last few games, especially the fact, like you said, you want to play your best baseball going into the month of September. I'm not out as you are in the sense that, like, I think they're going to get in.
I said I'm ready. I'm ready to be out.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair
ready
enough.
To be.
You haven't walked off the plank yet, but you're like you're kind of looking over. You're like,
I'm looking at the water, going. It actually looks pretty warm down there.
Yeah. 100% fire everybody in the Red Sox front office, which I mean, I think you and I have been on that same train for some time now. No, I think you want to be playing your best baseball going into September. You want to get. Listen, the goal for me going into September as a Red Sox fan is, okay, you were within, 3 games back of Toronto for the AL East. Like, you're within striking distance, given that you play Toronto in, a week? So all those things being considered, you're like, okay, maybe we're in range for the East. Worst case scenario, let's get that top wild card spot. Let's have 3 games, against the New York Yankees at Fenway Park, which you mentioned is obviously to this day, it's one of the most electric postseason atmospheres in all of baseball. It is as big of a home field advantage as there is in all of sports. Like that, the crowd I remember in 2021, that was not an ALCS caliber team, Tim, but the home crowd was outstanding in that series against Tampa Bay, the wild card against the Yankees, and then even in the ALCS against the Houston Astros. So like that's enough to propel him. If you got to go to the Bronx, not great. Although let's be honest, the Yankees don't have much of a home field advantage at the Yankee Stadium. It's just they don't. It's like a library. It's a library at Yankee Stadium. But still, like you want to have yourself in a good spot to where maybe you can take care of New York in 2 as opposed to 3. Save your pitchers. Have a guy. Like have a Bayo ready to go potentially for another series. Like all those things being considered is listen, I look at their schedule coming up. Like right now, they're up 2-1 in the A's. They got a game out tomorrow. They've owned Tampa Bay over the course of, I don't know, our whole lives, Tim. So like that helps. So again, you got Toronto, then Tampa Bay, then you finish with Toronto and Detroit. Yeah. Not great. Not how you want to be finishing the season. Can you be able to take 2 out of 3 in those series in Toronto and then at home at Fenway against the Tigers?
The thing about the Tigers, sorry to cut you off, but the thing about the Tigers is it's the final series. If we're lucky, we might be fighting for our spot, and they are going to be all secure. They're going to get the bye. They might even have number 1 seed already locked up, so they can be like, yeah, whatever. That's the hope. That's the hope.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, every Red Sox fan should be a Tiger fan right now, without question. Is try and pad their lead in the American League. No, like it's a situation where, again, if you play your best ball at the end of the season, you go in hot. Like baseball's funny, man. The best team in the regular season, I feel like almost more times than not doesn't win. It's whoever the hottest team is. And if you got a team in Boston who's just limping in the postseason, like you got it. Listen, they have to get Roman Anthony back in this lineup if they want any chance of doing anything special in the postseason. That's kind of the question mark. Like, do you have any information about whether he'll be back by a wild card series? How is it looking?
I mean, from early reports from like when it happened, it sounded like we would have had to have made a late ALDS, if not ALCS run. They did say today that he was on a treadmill. He's dealing with some soreness. So he ran for about 25 minutes. So it's like, okay, listen, I'm not expecting Roman Anthony, especially with everything going on. Because we're a different team without him. And the worst part is, like if you look at the stats, with Roman Anthony through 66 games, because he made his debut in June 9th, he had a batting average of 250, the team had a batting average of 256 with him, 245 without him in the last 11 games. Average runners in scoring position with Roman Anthony in the lineup, it's 254. Without him in the last 11, it's been 238. Runs per game with him has been 5 even. Without is 3.8. On base percentage was 324 to 301. And OPS, this is like massive. OPS was 761 in the 66 games with him and 676 in the 11 without him.
Wow.
So Roman Anthony is massive. But this keeps going back to what we've talked about off air, this whole Devers deal. Because what have we gotten from it? We've gotten a right-handed bum who has an 8.20 ERA who got shut down because he's got $12 million coming to him the next 2 years. So they're going to try to leverage that and say, like, well, look, we're going to get him better for next year. The guy sucks. Get him off this team. Second of all, we traded James Tibbs for Dustin May, and he hasn't been good. He's also been a bum. Kyle Harrison just joined the Red Sox. And so could you imagine how different this whole year would have been had we had both Roman and Rafael? And I know everyone wants to be like, yeah, well, Rafael Devers was, a clubhouse cancer, this, that, and the other. And to which I say, if he was a clubhouse cancer, why did none of the teammates come out and say that? Because there are clubhouse cancers where the guys will come out and be like, the guy was an a-hole. You know? Meanwhile, all the reports were just that, reports. And where do the reports come from? Upstairs. And listen, I think Cora wanted him gone too. I think there was, differences between Cora and Devers by that point. So
no question.
Cora wanted him out. But I mean, like, Could you imagine how different the lineup would have been, Roman and Raphael? We might be number one. But again, according to Breslow, hey, imagine we're going to win more games without him than we will with him. What?
And here's where I'll defend Breslow. They have been better post-Devers trade. With that being said, my whole issue going back, let's just say for the sake of argument, Devers was the biggest clubhouse cancer in all of Major League Baseball. Unless that was known by the other 29 teams, and unless it was a situation where that hurt the what you got in return for him, that was what I always attacked on the part of Breslow and the entire Red Sox operation, was that this is your return for a guy who is a multi-time All-Star, one of the 10 best hitters in baseball at that point. Like, what are we doing? What are we getting in exchange for him? Like, at least to use a football example, we all ripped the Cowboys for trading Micah Parsons. They got a good return. They got 2 first-rounders, a good DT. Like, it was there's an avenue where you could defend it in terms of what the Cowboys got in return in terms of their long-term investment. You can't with the Red Sox. They didn't get any high-profile prospects. They didn't get any players that can help them in the here and now. And now they're in a spot where they probably just screwed themselves. And so, I'm 100% with you. I thought the trade was atrocious, and I thought if they were going to move him, get something in return. It feels like it was almost similar to like the Luka trade in the NBA, where you really only kind of talk to one team in the San Francisco Giants. Like, shop them around. I'm sure there's plenty of teams that would like to have Rafael Devers on their squad.
And it came out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. After he had a great weekend against the Yankees. Yes.
On Father's Day, it was like,
we're
going to be riding high. Again, a notable Yankee killer in Devers. And what? You're going to – and I understand, and this is what goes to my point more and more, that this was clearly a salary dump. They didn't want prospects back. They just wanted all the numbers off the books. They wanted to stop paying them, period. And it's situations like that drive me nuts, because it's like, really? And then, of course, they're going to be like, oh, we're going to use it at the trade deadline. We're going to use that money in the offseason. $5 say you don't. And I'll collect all the money now, because I know for a fact that they're not going to go out and they're not going to spend as much money. If they prove me wrong, I will gladly sit here and say that. But it's going off of history. I mean, we were in the hunt. We had, I think, we were 2.5 games behind the Blue Jays. And now we're sitting there at 7 games behind. And then in the wild card, we mentioned, now we're third. We're only 2.5 games above the Guardians right now. And we had a 6-game lead with the Yankees at the start of September. What a difference 2 weeks makes. It is atrocious. And to go off, the home field advantage, we in our last 11 games, we are 4-9 in our home field advantage. And total at the bottom, you see 45-31, which is great. It's right around that mark of our 2021, where we made that ALCS run. But from the looks of it, I feel like we're about to stall out, even though we're going against the pathetic A's, who have the 27th most, their ERA is 27th in the league.
And you managed a single run last night. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it. You know what this whole month is reminding me of, Tim?
2011.
Oh
yeah.
And I obviously it's not a situation where it's literally the last game of the season. It's the Tampa Bay aspect of it, but I don't want to speak that into existence, but boy, it is reminding me a lot of that awful stretch back, 14 years ago.
Well, it's funny you bring that up, because I literally, since 2011, have looked up our records for the month of September. It sucks. Since 2011, it's 15 seasons if you include 2020, which you can't. I included it because not for nothing, it does fit my narrative. But
sure,
2020 is also a lost season anyway, so take it for what it's worth. But 15 seasons. Our winning record in the month of September versus our losing record, we're 6-9. 2011, we were 7-20. 2012, we were 7-19. And I'm just going to fast forward to 2019. We were 11-15. 2020, 12-13. Again, take it for what it's worth. 21, 14-11. 2022, 12-14. 2 years ago, 8-19. Last year, 11-15. And right now, we're 6-7. It's not good. This is the month you need to get your asses in gear and move. But it's almost as if that they are content, or it's one of two things. They're either content and we're like, oh, we're going to make the playoffs. We got such a high percentage, fan graphs, all that stuff. Or this Roman Anthony injury has just knocked them on their ass, and they're like, oh, well, we suck anyway, so why bother?
I think it's closer to that second one. Not in the sense that it's
that as drastic as what I said, but I agree with
you. Yeah, but I think it's more than anything. It's like, boy, when a guy that productive, especially by the way as a rookie, it has just brought this jolt of energy into your lineup, and now that's gone. That is hard for some of those guys, even the veterans like Bregman or some of the guys that's been there for a while like Duran. That is a hard mantle to kind of pick up and trying to replace that one guy in the lineup. You got to do it as a collective. And what we've seen since the injury, they don't seem terribly capable of doing that. So listen, you still got plenty of game. I should say plenty of time. You still got a week and a half to be able to right the ship. If you can listen to me, the mark of where this team is at is going to be shown in Toronto, Canada next week. Like if they can go into Toronto and if they can be able to take 2 of 3 against the Blue Jays, I'm like, okay, we're fine. This is a playoff competition. This is a team that's going to win the AL East. We're good. We can go into the series against Detroit, as you said, fingers crossed, with the Tigers having clinched everything, and you'll be fine. That series is at Fenway, and you go in the wild card series. Whatever happens. Let me ask. I know this is your show, but can I ask you a question super fast? What would you consider? Because I actually asked our friend Alfred Parsar Jr., the Metropolitan Report host, this on my show earlier today. Have your expectations changed from before the season to now, given the recent losing streak? Like in other words, whatever your most because the most desired result was obviously a World Series title. Whatever your, I guess, acceptable result, has that changed from where it was in March?
It's funny because, again, baseball is a long season. You do have the ebbs and flows. The start of the year, all hope is lost. They suck. It's over.
Yeah.
Write them off. And then, of course, the dog days of summer, it's like, oh, wait, we have a shot. Oh, then the trade deadline comes and we do shit. It's like, all right, we're screwed. Here we go again. Cora's going to phone it in. And then, August, we played pretty well. And then, of course, now, like, at the start of the year, here's the thing, and this is what, comparing to your Steelers, right? So I am of the mindset where I'm always looking to compete for a championship in all my sports. The last thing I want to do, unless there is a generational talent like LeBron James, that I know you know him best, but like for somebody like me, like a Connor McDavid or a Sidney Crosby, guys who are just off the charts, generational, that if you tank, then you're going to get him and your team will turn in a heartbeat. Unless it's that, and by the way, even with that being said, I'm still looking to compete for a championship until mid-year or whatever, when it's like, okay, sure, this team sucks. But the fact that, and I've dealt with this with the Patriots the last 2 years, it sucks. It's boring as hell going into a Sunday game, watching them just, they're going to lose. And I want to see, that team, my team in the hunt, right there on the verge, if not in the wild card, ready to play. So, yes, there are the times where, of course, the slump during the season, oh, we suck. The trading deadline, oh, we suck again. Like all these things. But at the end of the day, what bothers me is when we get to these situations, and I'm expecting playoffs always, that when they start to do this type of stuff, I get even more agitated because we were there. We were on the brink. We were on the verge, and then you sucked. In the last month, last year, we started off so hot. We had the best ERA in baseball. And then all of a sudden, we pull 11-15 in September, and we're out. We finished third. We were in the hunt. That's unacceptable.
Yep.
We are the Boston Red Sox. Again, I look at the playoffs just like if you get in, anything can happen. You know,
well, as wide open as the AL is too, like that's the thing. It's not there's
yeah.
one juggernaut or two teams like, oh, they're on a collision course to get to the ALCS. It is not like that this year.
No, it's not. And when you look at it too, look at the Baltimore Orioles. Perfect example. They had Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, Jackson Holiday. They have a whole slew of kids. They had a great pitching rotation last year. And sure, a couple of those starters left and joined other teams. But the Orioles, I bet, are still thinking that, hey, we got this whole slew of talent that's been through an entire baseball season. We're only going to improve from here. And now what? They're
the
dead
whole team is
last.
Apart,
They're dead last in the East. God forbid, next year something drastic happens to us. But that's the issue that I have is every season there's no guarantee except for the fact that we are one of the wealthiest
yes,
ownership groups in baseball. And we can spend all this money. Baltimore can't.
That's what's infuriating.
Why are we, haggling over nickels and dimes when it's like, hey, just like we did with Beckett, Crawford, David Price. I know we had to include Mookie in that deal, which I don't want to go down that path, but
don't even.
We have these high priced guys, and guess what? They got off our books. So it can be done. But if they, God forbid, lose out again, I mean, like, what are we going to do? I'm going to lose my collective mind if they don't make the playoffs this year.
Oh, it would be an absolute choke job if they do. Like, and it would. I think most of the fan base, justifiably so, would point to the front office. They would say, "Listen, the roster was." Again, the improvements you made in the offseason, you bring in Crochet, you bring in Bregman, and obviously you had the prospects coming up, but there was an
element. Don't forget, we waited till June 9th to get Roman Anthony in the lineup, and correct. Christian Campbell beat out Marcelo Maya, which I've pointed out on this show. Marcelo Maya had the better spring than Christian Campbell.
He sure did.
No, Driveline had to be the selling point. The proof of concept was in Christian Campbell, and yet he sucked. So tell me, does Driveline work?
And and that's kind of the frustrating aspect is the sense that, like, the Red Sox run their business like they're the Colorado Rockies. And that's the part that is absolutely just, it grinds my gears. That's what listen, I know people, bagging the Dodgers. And man, the Dodgers understand the resources they have. And they say, yeah, the hell with this. We're just going to outbid you for Shohei Ohtani and for Mookie Betts and for all the top free agents and players in Major League Baseball. And the Red Sox have the resources to do it, and they don't. I mean, the Fenway Sports Group, you have pointed out many times in the show, they're more interested, it feels like, in another sport than they are with their own team, with the namesake, so to speak. So that's what's frustrating. And so, missing the playoffs this year would be an absolute disaster. And I hope Cora wouldn't pay the price for that, but I fear that he might.
Yeah, and it's funny because last night was like a great example of that. You had, again, Connolly early, who in 2 games, again, both against the A's, but he's got a .87 ERA in 10 1/3 innings, 1 earned run, which I still don't want to credit him for, but I have to. 1 walk and 18 strikeouts, 11 in his first game, 7 last night. Yet he gets to 80 pitches at 5 1/3, going against Rooker, one of the A's best young guys, who's right-handed, and you bring in Greg Weissert, like,
makes no sense.
Weissert has 9 blown saves this year, which is most in the American League by at least 2. And then he's tied for 3rd in losses by a relief pitcher. And the funniest part about it was he screwed up, and he screwed up Peyton Toley's debut, too, against Pittsburgh, which pissed me off. But then after the game, Cora goes on and says that everybody needs to do their job, basically. Not verbatim, but something to that effect. And so you sit back and clearly he's calling out Weissert. And there are kind of 2 schools of thought with this. Why was Early pulled at a 5 1/3 when out of the 5 hits that he gave up, the final 2 were both infield signals? So weak ground balls that, they just happen to beat out. That's not on the defense. It's not on the pitcher. Right. Yeah. So he's only at 80 pitches, 5 1/3, top of the 6th. He's at home for the first time. Was this the nerds who pulled him in the front office because they're more worried about his innings pitched, which, by the way, his innings pitched in 2025 still has not exceeded his innings pitched in 2024. So Are they trying to make sure that this young arm doesn't overdo it this season in order to focus on next season? Because, of course, if and when we make the playoffs, that's going to be, he's going to be playing that much more. Or was this Alex Cora's doing, just getting a terrible read on the situation and not understanding, or this is part B of, Alex Cora. Was Cora throwing shade at Craig Breslow because he didn't get a right-handed reliever in the trade deadline? Going to white shirt again.
It's almost to make a statement to the front. I don't think Cora would sabotage his team in a game in September.
The last 3 years he's done it.
But now, the last 2 years we weren't firmly actually in the wild card. Like if the season ended today, we're in the wild card spot. Whereas the last few years, going September, we'd be like 4 games out, 3 games out. True. A situation where we'd be in the hunt but not quite in. This case we're in. So every single game takes on a greater significance. So he might have, but I don't think he would have done, especially with the way, if the offense was rolling, I would actually maybe hear that school of thought where it's like, hey, my offense can back me up on this, but I'm going to make a statement to the front office that, could use another guy in this spot. And that's not beyond Core to do. I do agree with you, but the way the offense has just gone into an absolute slump, I don't think thought he would have necessarily done that.
Yeah, no. And again, it's not necessarily of course, Whiteshirt is absolutely to blame.
Yes.
But he got, Early didn't get the run support that he could have or should have gotten, going essentially again with no runs. It had to be another guy to come in to give Early his earned run. So again, it was just, it's been a crazy situation, with the Red Sox. And like I said at the start, I am on the verge. I am looking down off that plank being like, what, it doesn't look that bad, does it? It's because this is the type of stuff that just pisses me off. When we get to this point, I've been bragging. I've been saying the last couple of weeks, hey, look, Fangraphs is giving us these odds. Like, we're ready to go. As of last Thursday, still 95% chance to make the playoffs. Now we're down below 88, according to Fangraphs. So it's a situation that this team needs to get their act together.
Yep.
And fast. I understand, you lost Roman Anthony for, the final part of the season, but all right, let's pick it up. You just got to get on base. It's all you need.
So lots to play for, no question.
Yeah, going into when I used to play Madden, people used to say one of my go-to tactics was just to run, slants and unders and, because it was just simple. Like I gained a few yards and,
death by 1,000 cuts.
Field. With baseball, death by singles. If you can stack up hit after hit after hit. And when it comes to runners in scoring position, dude, look at this. The last 6 games, 2-11 back on Tuesday, 2 for 16, 0 for 8, 1 for 7, 3 for 4 in the first inning against New York on Sunday. But then the rest of the game, we were 0 for 5. And then last night, 0 for 7. And we've had plenty of time off. We had an off day last Thursday, and we had an off day on Monday. So we've had the time.
With no travel on Monday, by the way. Yeah.
Exactly. So this team really needs to get their act together. Before I let you go, though, ESPN just released the millionth trailer for another 2004 documentary on the Boston Red Sox. Bryson, what are your thoughts?
But here's the thing, too, Tim. It's if it were the only Red Sox championship team since 1918, I might hear that argument. Man, that 07 team was pretty good. I mean, obviously you got Poppy and Ramirez, but that pitching staff with Beckett kind of leading the way, like that was a good squad. 2013 was far and away the most unlikely because you were coming off of a disastrous 2012 season. Big Poppy's the hero. Game 2 against the Tigers, my all-time favorite David Ortiz moment. The World Series, everyone's growing out the Boston, beards and the playing for the city after the tragedy early, like that. There's like that. That's very much a not David to Goliath, but very much a worst to first great story. What happened in Boston. And then 2018, it's like start to finish dominance. And then they traded Mookie Betts. Like there's a lot of storylines in these championship seasons, particularly the last two. Listen, 04 should never not be celebrated in every way, shape, and form because of what it meant. Again, I'm not from Boston. You are. I cannot even imagine what it was like for that city once you finally broke through. You got that last out against the St. Louis Cardinals and coming back from 03 and the Yankees, all of it. But
a lot of grown men cried that night.
I guarantee they did. There's for good reason. For good reason. And that's but it does feel like it's been overplayed and almost if you oversaturate it, it's going to almost lessen the value to the average sports fans. Like, 04 Red Sox. Whereas, for Boston, it's like if there were a situation where they were like the 16 Cubs and that was the only one they got, I'd feel differently. But I mean, they just came out with the Netflix, which I love the next Netflix series, by the way. But that came out last year?
Yeah.
There's the 30 for 30. Like, don't overplay it to where people start to get kind of tired of the 04 Red Sox because no one did at the time.
Well, and it's so funny because I saw this trailer and it was just one of those, what are they doing?
It was a dud. Yeah, I wasn't crazy about it.
And the funny part was, I remember the Netflix, going into the Netflix documentary that they were going to make on the 23 Boston Red Sox. That was the talk of the town. It was always about the 23 documentary that was going to come out. And then out of nowhere, it felt like they released they were previewing the 04 documentary that they released like a month out. And I was like, wait a minute, what? I thought we were so focused on, the 23 team and now we're going to do this. Oh, okay, sure, fine, whatever. And my only stipulation for that was, please don't do just 2004 or don't do what 30 for 30 did on just the Yankee series.
Right.
You have to go back. You have to get that 03 team because as much as I cried that night that Aaron Boone hit that walk-off of Wakefield, you can't tell me that walk-off was not the catalyst for the 04 team.
No question. No question about it.
And I look at and listen, I think we would have competed better against the Marlins, but I'm still not sure that we would have beat the Marlins for that matter. Beckett was in his prime. He was young. He was, they still had a very good team. Mike Lowell was on that team.
He's the Red Sox champion, yeah.
Yeah, and World Series MVP.
Correct.
And so, like, this is like the thing. And then, of course, they're throwing all the fans, meaning all the celebrity fans. Like, it's like, guys, can we just please, and like you said, 07 was dominant. We could talk about, missing out on 05, falling short in, 06.
They came back from 3-1 over Cleveland. Like listen, the 3-0 that's never been done before or since. I get, but
yeah,
that was another situation where they were down and out. I mean, they almost did in 2008 against the Rays. Like that, it's kind of like this.
That Cleveland team. Don't forget CC Sabathia, Cliff Lee. Like it's not like they were slouches, especially pitching. And then of course Cleveland wants to try to get under Beckett's skin in Game 5 by sending his ex-girlfriend out to sing the national anthem, which at the time I had no idea. But now, like later on, I found out, and I'm like, that's phenomenal. Because you could see Josh Beckett. He's like,
he's rattled.
Oh, yeah. He was not rattled at all. He's like, F you. And by the way, outside of Barry Zito, he's got one of my favorite curveballs. When that curveball is on, it'll start at your head and drop to your knees. So there were so many great things that they could have done. So many other teams, the 07, the 13 team. You have the story in and of itself.
Yes, it writes itself. Yeah.
Like it writes itself. And I think they did. Somebody did a documentary on that, I think, or a little one at that. But, and then 18, dominance. You could talk about the rise of the kids. Mookie, Xander, Devers getting his first crack.
Benintendi, that outfield, yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, listen, I'm going to watch it. How can I not?
Sure, of course.
But it's like, we just had one last year. Do we really need another one? Do I really need to know what Ben Affleck was thinking? And listen, I love Ben. I love, the fact that back in the early 2000s, he was always on TV every time he showed up to a game with Jennifer Lopez or Jennifer Garner. But again, I don't need this. I have enough.
Yeah, everyone knows the story.
What different spin are they going to put on this? That's my question. What's the spin that they're going to do that's different?
How the 04 Red Sox team looked from the box seats. That's what that's what it looks like at the box seats at Fenway with sitting with John Henry. That how that experience was like. Yeah,
right. But well, Bryson, thank you so much, my man, for coming on. Again, let everyone know where they can find you at.
Yeah, listen, again, anywhere you get your podcasts, YouTube, social media stuff on YouTube, Instagram, X, TikTok. Catch my show 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific time. Tim, I appreciate you having me on, my man. Listen, I'm looking forward to Saturday morning tailgate. This coming Saturday, yourself, Arthur. It's gonna be a blast. It's gonna be a rough Saturday for you and me after the Florida loss and after the heartbreaking Tennessee loss. Should be fun. But Tim, you're doing an awesome job. Boston Sports Summit. Everybody, check it out. Appreciate you having me on, my man.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Bryson. It's been a pleasure. Glad you're always welcome to stop by, especially when we get to talk Red Sox.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Have a good one, man.
Yeah, you too. All right. Well, that was Bryson Carver once again, fellow Grid Network. There we go. Okay. Trying to remember how to do this stuff. Fellow Grid Network, Carver Up Podcast, great show. So if you get a chance, tune in Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, 6 p.m. on the Grid Network. But one final thing I did want to touch on, because these stories that have been coming out recently are something that kind of pisses me off. So to start off, Saudi Arabia just got WrestleMania in 2027. They just started this flag football league with Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, all these superstars out there. Currently, they're all going over to Saudi. They have Live Golf. They signed Cristiano Ronaldo. They're trying to buy, sports teams all across the world. And they're doing it to try to get into good faith so that people can see Saudi Arabia as a good place, which I'm sorry. First of all, shame on Americans. Shame on the sports leagues in general selling the teams to these guys, because these sports, that are in the NFL, Major League Baseball, NHL, or NFL, right? NFL, MLB, NHL, NBA. There we go. My God. I don't know what I was thinking. If they're being bought by people overseas like that, I'm sorry, I don't like that. I these sports, at least those leagues, are American with Canadian, with Canada. So again, I got nothing against Canada. NHL, perfect. NBA, cool. MLB, cool. No problem. Once you start jumping overseas, and this is what the NFL has been talking about, trying to expand to have a team in London, to have a team in Scotland or Germany. Are they trying to do it where they're going to try to mix, the NFL with Europe? Because if that's the case, that's going to ruin a lot of that's going to be a lot of travel for a lot of those teams, and it's not going to work. We're already seeing a massive uptick in injuries now. Imagine you're playing in LA and you have to go to London to play this week, then fly back, back to LA to go play the following week. That's not good for your body. Your body needs time to heal. So the fact that you have these Saudi Arabians, big wealthy oil guys who, are trying to come in and just say, here's billions of dollars. I want to own this team or that league or start this league with these players. I'm sorry. I vehemently disagree. And the fact that WWE is now allowing WrestleMania, their biggest card, to be wrestled in Saudi Arabia is the worst thing that can happen. And it just goes to show that TKO, the board that holds WWE, UFC, awful. They are in it for the money, and that's it. They don't care. It's not like, Saudi Arabia's got a bunch of human rights issues. It's not that Saudi Arabia, their belief system is completely antithetical with what Americans believe. Roger Goodell has floated out having the Super Bowl outside of the United States. These are the situations, these are the main events, the sports that should be America's. These are our games, our state, our sports, our moments. And what? You're going to go overseas for that nonsense? I mean, listen, no offense to, Europeans out there, but I don't even like the games over in London and Germany, for that matter. It doesn't help that it's at 9:30 in the friggin' morning, and I got to set my lineup probably the Saturday night before if I'm doing fantasy. But it's like the NFL is ours. WWE is ours. Whether you're a fan or not, it's ours. And I don't mind having, for WWE purposes, live events, certain live events overseas. Like you want to do, Crown Jewel, whatever. Like I don't like it. I don't like it being in Saudi Arabia, especially for the female wrestlers, because they treat women extremely differently than how we treat women. But the fact that WrestleMania is going to Saudi Arabia, the fact that all these NFL players and Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski sold their souls to go over to Saudi Arabia to play flag football. Cristiano Ronaldo left Europe to go to Saudi Arabia to make millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars. Live golfers, who left the PGA to go to live, who is being funded by Saudi oil money. This is the thing that I don't like. The fact that Saudi Arabia is extremely antithetical to the United States in terms of, how we treat people. These things are our sports. Shame on America. Shame on the sports leagues who are more concerned about a buck. And I've said this before, going back to NFL Red Zone and how they're now adding commercials, into it. I don't care if the commercial is 1 second long. That's one commercial too many. It's all about making a buck. Instead of playing for the heart of the sport or understanding that, this is ours. This is our sport. You know, if you have viewers overseas, great. If you have fans overseas, great. Let them come here on vacation and watch the game that way. Yeah, that seeing WWE have WrestleMania over in Saudi Arabia just drove me up a wall, needless to say. And this whole flag football league, I don't understand it. I know they're trying to make it look like, oh, we have such good graces, you know, we're good people, blah blah blah. It's completely different. It's completely different. But tell me what you guys think. And I want to give a shout out once again to Bryson Carver coming on. It was great talking, you know, Pittsburgh, the resident Steeler fan that he is. And then we got to talk about the Red Sox, you know, Patriots playing the Steelers. It's going to be an interesting one. I do have the Steelers. I know. But I do hope the Patriots win at the end of the day. Come on. I'm a Pats fan. Just because I'm trying to be objective doesn't mean I'm not rooting for the Pats, all right? So tell me what you guys think. Don't forget to give a like, share, subscribe down below. You can follow me all on the social media platforms, Instagram, Boston Sports Summit. There it is, X, Boss Sports Summit. And then, of course, YouTube and the Grid Network. A lot of other great shows. Fellow contributor Alfred Parsad Jr. of the Metropolitan Report he is on the Grid Network. So check that out. Also, Saturdays, 10 a.m., the Saturday morning tailgate. Don't miss it. All right? All you college football fans out there. We're going to be live on Saturday morning. So see you guys then. Thank you so much for the Boston Sports Summit. I'm Tim Barnett. And as always, God bless. Have a great night.